Camp is camp. It's tough, but it's for me to want to push myself. This is what I do, this is what I live for. I'm ready for battle. I feel like I'm getting stronger, and I feel by the time the fight comes, I'll be at peak performance.
One more. One more. Beautiful. Good. That's what we've got to bring him on to. Nobody can take them.
It's unbelievable how far and how wide sports can take you and the things that you get access to.
Anthony Joshua has kicked off the opening day of his training camp as he prepares for his clash with Jake Paul, now aimed for December 19th. With a matchup now locked in, Joshua isn't wasting a moment, refining his skills entering camp with sharp focus and the mentality of a former heavyweight king. Jake Paul, despite his debated journey from online star to pro fighter, has shown he can attract massive spotlight. But this time, he's stepping in against a proven force with elite, top-level experience.
Vegas, the second leg of the training camp. I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling refreshed. So yeah, come inside, have a look what's going on. Tough training, tough lifestyle, rough and tough. But listen, how else would I want it? I love it. So what am I bringing differently? I wouldn't say a new mindset, but definitely like a new perspective. But ultimately, everything new has to lead to a win. So yeah, that's what I'm focused on right now, just winning. With training camp, it's grueling, like there's no doubt about that, but you just need to have a clear mind and be optimistic and run towards challenges every day. And that's how I'm able to get through, is just the perspective I have on what suffering looks like. There's a certain standard that one has to have if they want to achieve certain things. I am working past efforts, measures that I set out for myself. Yes, it's tough. Yes, I'm tired.
Mike Coppinger revealed that the matchup between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul is locked in for December 2025 in Miami and is set to air on Netflix as an official heavyweight contest.
We mentioned earlier that Anthony Joshua still didn't have an opponent for his next fight, but he was thinking of still fighting before the end of the year. And we've got some breaking news for you now, because we're hearing that AJ is in talks with Jake Paul over a deal for a heavyweight fight in Miami next month. Of course, the YouTuber Paul has already fought the former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, and beaten him. And he's now in talks with Anthony Joshua with a view to the two of them fighting in Miami next month.
Eddie Hearn has pushed back on those claims. He also verified that the fight is happening, stating it will take place under Queensberry rules rather than as an exhibition match. He made it clear there won't be altered conditions like bigger gloves or shorter rounds. It'll feature 10-ounce gloves, set rounds, and follow standard pro boxing guidelines.
Telling Ring Magazine, Anthony Joshua, your man, and Jake Paul are finalizing a deal for a December heavyweight fight in Florida. True or false?
I mean, the gun was jumped a little bit and fired early. There have been conversations. For us, we were flirting with the idea of having this little 8-round fight this year. Not with Jake Paul, by the way, because he was fighting Gervonta Davis.
Yeah, that's no.
But we were going to go on a other card somewhere. You wouldn't have really heard of the person we were going to fight. But AJ wanted to go through the motions, wrap the hands, and just gear up to what is really in the works with Turki Al-Sheikh, which is 2 fights in 2026, and that includes Tyson Fury. That's the plan for Turki Al-Sheikh. We received a phone call from Nikisa Baldirian from MVP, who, by the way, we've spoke to a few months before talking to us about the fight, and he said, look, would you want to fight Jake Paul? And I said, listen, I don't want to just be a publicity muppet for you, you know, telling everybody that you offered the fight to Anthony Joshua. If you're serious, we can discuss the numbers, and if there's a chance for us to run out in December and, you know, take care of this bloke and get him out of the boxing world and make several tens of millions in the process, of course, we will consider it. And that's basically where we are at now.
And do the numbers stack up?
Of course, I mean, like, you know, it's difficult to have this conversation. I think sometimes you just need to...
He explained to Sky Sports that they have no interest in exhibition bouts. If Paul wants to step in It will be a real contest at an agreed weight. However, Hearn also stressed that the agreement isn't finalized. He says the odds are still 50-50, noting there are plenty of discussions left to settle.
Extremely dangerous for Jake Paul. You know, I've got the general feedback is the boxing world saying, please AJ, go in and evaporate this young man from the boxing world so we can all get on as normal. You've got Jake Paul fans thinking bizarrely they can beat Anthony Joshua. And the most bizarre thing out of everything is that Jake Paul genuinely believes he will beat Anthony Joshua. I think that's the only reason we're going to see this fight, but I truly believe
Hearn labeled Paul as reckless of chasing the fight, despite Joshua being a true heavyweight powerhouse, highlighting the massive payday both fighters stand to earn. Still, he stressed the severe danger of putting the inexperienced Paul against a veteran like AJ, warning it could be a disastrous mismatch that might seriously harm Paul's career, either physically or reputationally.
Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, 50-50 fight. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I just said in another interview, great if it is. I mean, if it is, then you've got no problem seeing it. But when AJ, I mean, decapitate's a strong word, but you know, when he renders Jake Paul unconscious like he did to Francis Ngannou, don't then say, oh well, it was Jake Paul. Do you know what I mean? I mean, when AJ beat Francis Ngannou, Ngannou just had a fight that could have gone either way with Tyson Fury. Then AJ poleaxed him, and everyone just said he's just an MMA fighter. Do you know what I mean? Jake Paul's not Francis Ngannou. But as I said before, if you want to see Jake Paul exit the boxing world.
However, Hearn has admitted that Paul's approach involves targeting professional boxers who can offer a massive payday.
Well, AJ, ever so quickly, I watched Jake Paul the weekend. I feel a bit dirty saying that because I'm not a fan of his, but he did say after the fight that he's sort of having DMs or he's dropping text messages to AJ. They're having a chat about a potential fight. What's your view on that, Eddie?
Well, look, he's calling out Gervonta Davis, who is a 135-pound lightweight, and he's calling out Anthony Joshua, that's a heavyweight monster. I think Jake Paul is crazy enough to fight Anthony Joshua because the money would be absolutely obscene. It's a catastrophic mismatch that people would tune in to watch because it would lead to the end of Jake Paul. Hopefully not literally, but it's that dangerous that, you know, it's a fight that I don't think should really happen, if I'm honest. I would say about Jake Paul, and I've said this in a couple of interviews today, I do think you start after giving him a margin of respect. You know, I think this guy is going through the motions, he's putting the hard spars in, he just went 10 rounds with, yes, a washed up fighter, but a former world champion that did train for that fight. But they're very clever in terms of the opponents that they pick. They're not going to gamble unless the money's out of control. And it wouldn't surprise me if Jake Paul, wanted to move forward with an Anthony Joshua fight. Honestly, AJ's coming tonight. He's not exactly looking at Jake Paul going, oh, that's my dream opponent. Would he go in there and give him a hiding for, you know, a massive chunk of money? Probably, I'd be saying.
Simon Jordan has admitted that even with his criticisms, the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup could have positive effects on boxing in certain ways. He acknowledges that the bout will draw enormous worldwide attention, introduce millions of new viewers, and open substantial financial opportunity for all parties involved. Jordan points out that boxing is a business, and a fight combining a former heavyweight champion with one of the biggest digital stars is almost guaranteed to attract revenue, media coverage, and mainstream interest. He believes the spectacle will captivate casual fans, generate buzz, and ignite debates, all of which maintain the sport's relevance. While he still questions the sporting legitimacy, he recognizes that financially and commercially, this fight could be a significant win for boxing.
This is the entertainment business, and Anthony Joshua is an entertainer, and you can't undo the fact that he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. And he fought in some great fights.
So why does he need this?
Because he's in the business of entertainment. And if an opportunity is presented to him and someone wants to say that we can monetize this to the huge levels that are potentially available, why wououldn't you? It's a walk in the park.
You see, you're not having Saturday night.
Because
many people wouldn't have this.
Well, I'm not having,
because this isn't a proper fight where a Saturday night is.
But I don't think this is a proper. I don't think that I would ever consider having a debate about whether Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul is a proper fight between two bona fide champions. I think Jake Paul is someone that's creating a lot of opportunity for himself and using sport as the anchor for it. And will I watch it? No. And do I value it? No. But when I'm asked to be confronted with a fight between two legends' sons and then get involved in all of the nonsense that
Simon Jordan also criticized the Conor Ben versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight, claiming promotion leaned heavily on nostalgia rather than true sporting merit. He argued the bout was being marketed based on the legendary rivalry of their fathers in the 1990s, rather than the actual accomplishments of the fighters themselves. Jordan slammed promoters for exploiting history to hide the fact that the matchup made little competitive sense, particularly with Ben moving up in weight and Eubank Jr. dropping down dangerously. He also labeled the fight a clear cash grab, not a legitimate contest, comparing it to a mismatch between a former heavyweight champion and a social media celebrity, which he says undermined boxing's integrity. Jordan questioned whether the fight should even receive sanctioning, highlighting the physical risk to Paul and cautioning that Joshua's legacy could suffer long-term consequences if he follows this path.
Merits the kind of returns that they're going to get for the level that they've operated in their careers. And that's one of my issues around the Conor Ben Eubank fight. This fight over here with Anthony Joshua, I know what this is. No one can dress this up. This is a turd that will get polished into a huge pile of money. And if you know that from the outset,
Yeah.
so I don't have any illusions about it. Neither does anybody else. Nobody thinks that this is a real fight. Nobody thought. I mean, Spencer tried his very level best, and will never try it again, to convince us that Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul.
Yeah.
Well, this is something similar,
Yeah.
for different reasons. Anthony Joshua is still a live heavyweight, and if he hits Jake Paul's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
And some people might think that's a good thing to happen to him, to learn his lesson. But he is also now fighting. He's got a fighter's license, and the question should be along the lines of what Chris Eubank Sr. was raising. Is it right? Is this appropriate that a high-performing supreme athlete like Anthony Joshua, whose only real challenges now are probably in his mind, because physically he can operate at the highest level if he still chose to, should be stepping in against someone like Jake Paul that does not have the skill set to deal with the kind of power and expertise that Anthony Joshua has? And should boxing be sanctioning this? This is the bigger question.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Having said all that, Netflix tell us 60 million households worldwide tuned in live to see Mike Tyson take on Jake Paul. Why would Jake Paul end up fighting?
Adding to the buzz, boxing icon Roy Jones shared an unexpected take on the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight, focusing more on caution and excitement. He emphasized that the matchup needs to make sense for Joshua, both in terms of competition and financial reward.
Subject's just a little bit here, and Anthony Joshua, there's rumours circulating he could be fighting Jake Paul next. One, do you think it's good for boxing, and two, do you think the fight will happen?
I think it's great for boxing. I think the fight will happen. AJ is 1-0 against these guys that come in to these boxing careers late. So why not? He's a perfect guy to take him out too. He took Ngannou out. Why would he not take Jake Paul out? And for him, he probably make more money fighting Jake Paul than he will fighting anybody else that he can fight right now. So why would he not do it? I mean, not that he needs the money right now anyway, but if he's going to do something, if he want to get a good win to put him back on the scene, that's perfect.
Dave Ferrer and Spence Oliver weighed in on a growing public debate about a potential Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight. The conversation heated up after Saudi boxing official Turki Alshik suggested the bout could be approved during a TalkSport appearance at Wembley. Alshik confirmed that Paul has verbally agreed to the fight and expressed his wish for Joshua to dominate Paul in a decisive mismatch, framing it as a win-win test of legitimacy for both fighters.
Bill, does he really want to smoke? I mean, he's got to be an idiot if he does, because Anthony Joshua, let's use this as a comparison. Francis Ngannou called Anthony Joshua out after pushing Tyson Fury the way that he did, and he looked at that and he went in there and he iced him in 2 rounds. Francis Ngannou versus Jake Paul, you got to go heavily on Francis Ngannou, haven't you? So what's going to happen to poor Jake Paul if he boxes Anthony Joshua, this Olympic?
Mike Kopinger has voiced serious concerns over the proposed Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, suggesting that Paul seems more motivated by the massive payday than by genuine sporting merit. Kopinger notes that talks are ongoing but still face significant obstacles related to broadcasting deals and official sanctioning. He highlighted that Joshua represents a huge step up in size, power, and elite experience compared to anyone Paul has previously faced, making the matchup potentially risky. According to Kopinger, while the commercial appeal might drive the fight forward, it raises major questions about Paul's safety, credibility as a boxer, and the overall integrity of the bout.
There's a breaking story on Ring Magazine. Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul are finalising a deal for a heavyweight fight on Netflix in December in Miami. Sources tell the Ring Magazine's Mike Kopinger. What do you make of that?
Well, Anthony Joshua is talking about wanting warm-up fights before going into bigger fights, but look, It's prize fighting at the end of the day, and the way that Joshua will see it, and Matchroom and all the team, the fans won't like this, by the way.
I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. But the way that Joshua will see it is as a money grab. He'll see it as an easy money grab. But at this stage of his career, is it a fight he should be taking? Nah, definitely not.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be licensed because.
Meanwhile, Paul's promoter, Nakisa Badarian, addressed worries about the size difference between Paul and Anthony Joshua, stating, "In terms of size, we can manage it," with Paul reportedly weighing between 210 and 215 pounds, compared to Joshua's roughly 252 pounds. Badarian argued that Paul's strength and rapid progress make the matchup workable. He emphasized that Paul's heavyweight experience against fighters like Mike Tyson, along with his ongoing skill development, gives him confidence in the ring. Across the boxing community, professionals have repeatedly voiced concerns about the fight's legitimacy, safety, and impact on legacy. While some recognize the financial potential, very few view it as a truly competitive bout.
Mistaken, and 2 of his losses are against Alexander Usyk. Usyk weighed in at 220 pounds for those fights. Jake is not Usyk, a lot more years of experience needed to get to that level, but Jake walks around between 208 and 210, and he fought Mike Tyson at 228 pounds. So I think size-wise, we can get comfortable with it, and I think experience-wise, Jake is learning very fast and growing, and Joshua is a little long in the tooth. So it could be a very interesting matchup, and we're actively discussing it with Matchroom.
Don't put it past Jake Paul. Anthony Joshua, as much as he's a monster, he's got a weak mind, hasn't he? So Jake could end up getting into it, because Jake's got everyone eating out the palm of his hand. He's a very clever man, so...
You really think he's got a chance?
Why wouldn't he have a chance? Look how confident he is. Mate, come on. Like, Anthony would have all the pressure in the world, and if Anthony didn't do him with the first 3 punches, he'd start doubting himself in his head, because that's what he does. But no, Anthony should win, shouldn't he? But
what do you make of Tyson Fury saying that he's going to put $1 million bet on Jake winning by knockout?
Tyson to leg it, lad. He's retired about 50 times. What's he on about, mate? Just tell him to leg it, and I love him. If he walked in here, I'd obviously...
At one point, you were good friends.
I'm still good friends, but obviously if he walked in here, I'd act like I'm not talking about him, but then on the camera I'm talking, you know? Is this not what we're on? Is everyone not fake, or no? We all... What are we on here? Are we all acting like we don't hate each other? Like, come on. Like what?
You're on absolute smoke today.
Former world champion George Groves has also rejected the notion of Anthony Joshua facing Jake Paul, seeing little sporting value in it. He believes Joshua deserves significant fights against legitimate contenders, not crossover events. Groves described such a matchup as low risk and low legacy, insisting that Joshua should either retire or wait for a mega bout with Tyson Fury, which he considers the only fight that genuinely matters for his career legacy.
Still trying to convince people that he's a legitimate boxer. He's not a legitimate boxer. You've picked someone who was a professional boxer, whose dad was a legend of professional boxing. You might as well pick...
The potential showdown between Anthony Joshua and Jake Paul highlights the key challenges boxing faces today, the balance between genuine sporting competition and commercial spectacle. For Joshua, it offers a chance to earn a huge payday and reclaim the global spotlight following setbacks in his heavyweight career. For Paul, it represents the biggest risk of his boxing journey, an opportunity to show he can compete with a true elite or reveal the limits of a career largely built on celebrity.
Jake Paul, you've lost your mind if you think you can go toe-to-toe with Anthony Joshua. Listen, let's not get confused, guys. Let's not get confused. Yes, cool. Anthony, he took a big L with Daniel Dubois. But Daniel Dubois is not no joke, bro. He's not a joke. You know what I'm trying to say? He took an L there, but Jake Paul, I got the utmost respect of what he's done, how he's managed to navigate through the boxing world. Like, bro, it's so mad. And I can see this is like a 90%. It's happening, it's positioning, it's marketing already. Like, why would you see Jake Paul go face to face with Alexander Usyk if it's not to position for a fight for Saudi? Obviously, Jake Paul's gonna fight Anthony Joshua. There's possibly gonna be a Usyk against Tyson Fury 3, because obviously the last 2 were so close. But you never know. It can also be a Usyk against Derek Zazora.
Do you believe Jake Paul has any real shot against AJ? Could this fight benefit boxing, or is it just a complete spectacle? Share your thoughts in the comments below.